Hello, hello. Is anyone home? Okay. Hey, my beautiful baddies. Welcome back. I hope you're doing amazing and splendid. I've been feeling like sickness is trying to creep up on me, but I keep rebuking it, and that's how I keep things out of my life. But I feel like sickness is definitely a man. Sickness is like that guy who's over there who you're just like, I don't really want to talk to you, and they're like, come on, don't you just want to be a little sick? Like, and you're like, no, and they're like, come on, no. Okay, anyway, if you hear me sniffling, that's because sickness is trying to talk to me and I'm rebuking the hell out of it. So do I have a story time for y'all? This is going to be about getting comfortable with the uncomfortable and getting uncomfortable with the comfortable. And also, this is also about boundaries, pouring into your own cup first, filling up your own cup before filling others up. And also, wait, what was the last one? Oh my God, I forgot what it was called. Oh. And not staying in places that no longer serve you, and being okay with choosing yourself first. Over this past week and a half, I have received some wisdom from experiences that I am more than happy to share with you. And I apologize in advance if this kind of goes a little bit all over the place, because that's just kind of how I roll. If you know, and if you've seen my videos, I kind of just talk, and it usually makes sense by the end of it. Let me just tell y'all what this little story time is. So if you watched my last video, and if you didn't, that's okay. But I had been talking about how what I was doing right now was babysitting. You know, I was currently in my trade of choice. It was babysitting, watching a baby and caring for the baby. And it was for my cousin, so it was nothing super crazy, you know, no agencies or nothing, but it was like I was babysitting for my cousins, and it got to a point where everything was fine and dandy, yay, you know, it was cool, it was occupying my time. And then it got to a point where I was like, oh no, I had worked 22 hours in the span of 3 days for the week. And I was just like, oh, this isn't very fun. And it wasn't in a way of this like, oh, I don't even want to do this anymore. It was in a way that was like, I feel exhausted, and I don't know what it was. Oh, I know what it was now, but it was like, whenever I would come home and the days that I wasn't working, it was like, I just wanted to do absolutely nothing, and I felt like completely like that's literally what I felt like. And it was like, oh my God, what is happening to me? Like, this isn't right. Something is wrong. And I don't know, I was getting like irritable. I didn't like the things that I would usually do for enjoyment. I did not do, like, all of my self-care, skincare, I would still do. But it was just like, I would do the bare minimum for myself. And it was just like, usually I enjoy doing this and it's all fun. I romanticize it and it's like, yay, Funsville, light my candles. No candles were lit for the weeks that I were babysitting. And I was just like, this is so unlike me. And I felt like, this is a little dramatic, but I'm dramatic. But also that's literally how I felt. And it was like, I felt like not a shell of a person, but I didn't feel like myself. And I felt like I was just kind of like literally like an eye roll. That's what I felt. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this isn't right. And so I realized it was because of the babysitting. And it wasn't the babysitting in itself. It wasn't the pay. It wasn't the hours or feeling like I was being overworked and underpaid. I promise you, it wasn't that. I had realized that I had been very much letting my boundaries be stepped on, trampled on, and it wasn't anyone else's fault but mine. Nobody else was like, oh yeah, let's like push her to her max and let's like step on her boundaries. They didn't know because I wasn't upholding them. And it just made me like, oh my God, like, come on, right? But it can't be anyone else's fault but my own, because how are other people supposed to know your boundaries if you don't keep them up and stand on them? If you don't hold your boundaries up for others to be like, oh, can't go there, then they're just gonna walk on through because they don't see it. It's like a ghost and a wall. They're just gonna walk on through and you're just like, but there's a wall there. It doesn't apply to them if you don't hold it up, right? And so that's what was happening. And I also realized that my cup had been completely empty. My cup had been running on low, on underflow, and I was trying to pour into everyone else's cup. I was trying to pour into everyone's cup when my cup was empty. So I was like, what am I even pouring right now? Literally, there's just dust and air, like little droplets into other people's cups. And I was like, no. I had told myself a while ago, that the only way I'm going to be pouring into other people's cups is if I have poured my cup and filled it up all the way that it's overflowing into others' cups. And I had been doing that until I stopped filling my cup up all the way. I had just been like, okay, my cup's full now, so, here, I'll pour a little into yours. Let me pour some into yours, and yours, and yours, and yours. And then I was like, okay, my cup is empty. And I need to fill it back up so that I can let it overflow and run in. But I hadn't been doing that. I've been running on low, trying to fill everything up with an empty cup, and I'm just like, oh no, this is why it's not working. So like I said, it wasn't the babysitting in itself. It was me. It was literally me. And there's nothing wrong with that, okay? Babysitting wasn't meant to last forever for me, and I realized that. And I realized it was a learning experience for me to learn more about myself, also about how to babysit and take care of a child. But a learning experience for myself as to remember who the hell I am. And to be like, girl, look, this is going to help you get to the point where you thought you were, which was somebody who has strict boundaries and someone who chooses themselves first, and someone whose cup is running on overflow, abundant in their cup, filling up everyone else's. And that's who I thought I was, right? And that's what I thought I was doing. And this experience of babysitting and like the opportunity of babysitting and everything came along, for me to realize and to show me that that's not what I had been doing, and to teach me, here's how you do this. Here's how you can do what you want to do, and this is for you to show me, the universe, to God, to source, and to myself, that I am capable of doing everything that I wanted to do, that I am capable of standing up for myself, and that I am capable of having boundaries and putting them up and taking myself out of places, situations, and away from people who no longer serve me. Now, I'm not saying that my cousins or nothing don't serve me anymore. Like, I still love them. I'm still hanging out with them all the time. But it was like, it was just like a little test, I'd say. And I don't want to say test, but it's literally, that's what it was. That's what it was. And I know when tests and experiences come into my life because I can feel it in my bones. And that was one. Whew. So, that was a lot to just say right there. And so, I had been really scared to let them know that, hey, actually I'm not gonna babysit anymore because it's just not benefiting me. And it's making me feel like I can't stand up for myself or can't put myself first. And I was scared. And I think I was like scared of how they were going to react or what they would think. But actually, I'm not one to really care how people think, to care what somebody thinks or how they're going to react, because I know I can't control or assume or guess how someone's going to react, how someone's going to respond, or what anybody thinks. The only thing that I can control is how I respond, what I think about or what I choose to think about, and how I react. I think at my core, it wasn't really about how they, were gonna respond, if they would have gotten angry with me or not. Because if they were to have gotten angry with me, I would have been like, all right, that's your own problem. But I think what I was really scared about was, am I able to show myself that I pick myself, that I can choose myself first, that all these things that I said I was, that I am. Like, was I lying to myself the whole time? That's what I was scared of, right? And so actually, for when I first realized that I was going to stop babysitting because it just wasn't serving me, I was like, oh my God, should I just like stay? Should I stay? And I actually genuinely thought about that. I was like, should I just like tell them I'll just keep going like once a week or something like that? Or, if I could lower my hours and it was like, the point isn't the babysitting. Like I said, it was the fact that I had been there without choosing myself. And I didn't want to do it anymore. That was it. I just didn't want to do it anymore. And I guess I was scared to choose myself. And so when I finally sent that message of like, sorry guys, I'm actually not going to babysit anymore, I was like, oh my God, I did it. But as soon as I did it, I was like, okay, well, damn, I already did it. That's fine. But I was scared of the response only because I was scared of my response to the response. So if they were to ask me like, oh, what if we do this and you still babysit for us? I was scared that I was going to give in and be like, okay, fine. When really I wanted to say, okay, no. Right? So I wasn't scared of external. I was scared of my internal. And if I'm really about it like that. But I am about it like that. So what did I do? I was like, okay, actually, no, I can't do this anymore. And yes, I was scared. And I realized that a lot of the times I tried to do everything by myself and like figure things out by myself because I'm like, nah, I don't like really opening up to people. I don't like telling my family about like problems or stuff I'm going through or whatnot. But this, I was like, how am I supposed to be my divine feminine and to receive and to be okay with help and asking for help and receiving things if I'm not okay with opening up, if I'm not okay with being a little bit vulnerable? Because being vulnerable isn't about being weak. It's about being strong enough to be like, okay, I would like some assistance with this. And the thing is that I don't like doing that. But I've been pushing myself. And so I was like, all right, I want y'all's advice. I want your advice. Let me know. And they did. And I take everyone's advice with a grain of salt. More than a few grains of salt. Because ultimately, I'm going to listen to what my heart says and what my soul tells me to do. But it was really resonating with what others were saying, even though they're a little bit more extreme. And so I was like, all right. And honestly, as soon as I was done with the whole ordeal, everything was perfectly fucking okay. They didn't react any type of way. They were like, oh, okay, we understand. Which is like the normal response. Like, I don't know what I thought was going to happen, but it was all right. And everything worked out. Because I remembered halfway through that everything works out for me. And why wouldn't it be okay? Why wouldn't it be okay? So everything is okay. Everything will continue to be okay. And yeah. Basically, now that we're done with that little story time, the message is when you feel, and you will be able to tell if you know yourself and you know your body, because it will show in your body and in the way that you're feeling if you're running on E, empty. Okay? Don't be afraid to remove yourself from situations, places, people, things, plans, or ideas that drain you. Because how are you supposed to show up as your most authentic self, beaming love, joy, and receiving and abundance, if you have nothing? Right? Everything is flow and balance. And if you are unbalanced, then it's like, oh my God, this is not happy fun timesville. No, it's sad what the hellsville. That's what it is. And so, like I said, don't be afraid to remove yourself, to choose yourself to then maybe eventually get back over there. Because I'm not saying I'm never babysitting again. I love my niece. Of course I want a babysitter. But it's like, I now know that I will choose myself first, because I just did. And because I just proved it to myself. I had to remove myself from the situation because it was forcing me to not choose myself. Right? And so what I do, I chose myself. And I removed myself. So if you're in a situation, ever in a situation, or anything that you just feel like you don't want to do, or you don't want to be there, you do not have to. Do not be afraid to put up your boundaries and to have boundaries with people. But there's so many different types of boundaries. People think that boundaries are just something that's like, oh, don't say this about me, or don't do this around me. And it is that, but it is also boundaries within yourself. If you cannot hold up boundaries within yourself, how do you think you're going to have boundaries with other people? If you tell yourself that you don't want to smoke or you don't want to drink, and that you're like, I'm so serious, I don't want to smoke or drink anymore, I think it's bad for me, and it genuinely doesn't make me feel good. And then the next day you're like, oh, I know I said I don't want to, but I mean, it's right there, and it's just like one more time. When someone tries to push your boundaries, some other people try and push your boundaries, and they manage to do so, you cannot get mad at them. You cannot get mad at them because you did not hold up boundaries within yourself. Boundaries within yourself and staying to those boundaries, even if the temptation tried to get you, is self-love. Even if it's hard, because boundaries and standing up for yourself is hard. Let me tell you, it is hard, because we're in a society where it's like, if you choose yourself, you decide that, you know what, actually no, I'm not going to do that, or I'm not going to be there, I'm not going to go because I just don't want to. People are like, oh, but yada 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 yada. Life is about you. The world does revolve around you. And I'm not saying this in an egotistical, like, what is this? Like, I don't know. In an egotistical, like, oh, everything is always about me. It kind of is, but not in an egotistical way. You know what I mean? It's in a way that's like, if everyone around you just like decided to leave your life and you were by yourself, what else are you going to do? You have to choose yourself. And that's that. You are the only one who is always with you 24/7, 365. So things are about you. I mean, of course, when you want community, when you have friends and family and people you love and care about who also love and care about you, sometimes you have to make some sacrifices, right? It's not really a sacrifice though if it's for your community. You know what I mean? Like, if you have a friend who wants to hang out, but you're a very homebody and you're just like, oh my God, I don't want to go out. You know, like, I don't want to go out, but I haven't seen them in a while. Then go out. Go out with them. And you're going to feel better, I promise you. Because it's not about you choosing yourself because you're a homebody in that way. It's about you choosing to upkeep and maintain the community for you. Right? So think about it like that. If that makes sense. I don't know if that made sense, but it made sense to me. I think I also had taken up that babysitting gig because I felt like, okay, well, I have a lot of free time and I don't know what I want to do with my life or myself. So here's an opportunity and let me take it. And the opportunity was to fill my time and to receive and to, you know, like, have something to do. And that's what I had wanted, and I got it. But it also served as a lesson for everything that I said about choosing yourself, filling up your own cup so that you could only pour into others from your overflow. Everything that had happened with me realizing that I needed to choose myself and that I had been letting others step on my boundaries and that I hadn't even set my boundaries was because I was comfortable with doing that. It was because I was comfortable with not shaking things up, and that I was comfortable with, you know, I guess not really choosing myself, because I was so comfortable in just, like, I guess being a people pleaser. But this opportunity allowed me to be like, no, that's not who I am anymore, and to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. and everything worked out. So next time something happens, I'm gonna be like, all right, I've gone through this before and I'll be fine. But anyway, I really do have to go because my dad's about to come pick me up, so I gotta head out, y'all. Thank you so much for visiting my channel. I hope you come back. And if you're going through something where you're uncomfortable or you need to be uncomfortable, it's making you uncomfortable, depending on the context, you got this. I believe in you. Choose yourself. Make sure your cup is filled up before you start even trying to pour into other people's cups. And stick to your boundaries. It is hard as fart, but you can do this. If I can do this, you sure as hell can do this. Okay, I love you guys so much. Bye.